And welcome to the November 20th regular meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. So for a bit of good news right now and a note of appreciation to the Parksville Volunteer Fire Department. This past weekend, the Parksville Volunteer Fire Department held their Boots for Food drive. This weekend, they collected $94,090.70, with a total of $64,850 collected and donated by Craig Bay residents themselves. We wish to thank the community for their generosity, and a very special thank you to Craig Bay. Truly amazing, just fabulous news. On behalf of council, our sincere thank you to our residents for their generosity, for helping fill the boots for food. We also wish to thank the members of the fire department who volunteered their time over 2 days, and they just happen to be a few of them in the crowd here today. So welcome, and thank you so much for your service. It's truly appreciated. It's a great service. Thank you for that. So today, we'll start with our consent agenda. Council, do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendations for the consent agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Grins, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any errors or omissions? Councillor Goer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for staff on page 12 of the agenda. And under the report from the last council meetings minutes, 23-259, the motion that was amended, I just wanted some clarification that any appointments that would happen and any changes in consultation with the mayor, they will still be coming before council. That hasn't changed, has it?
Sorry, I'm looking up your
page 12. Thank you.
So to our CAO, the question, CAO Kaler. Oh, thanks.
Sorry if I may, through the mayor. So the motion was amended to just be the 1 year. So it says till 2024 on the new motion, or motion as adopted. So that will be coming back next year.
You okay with that? Okay, thank you. Any other errors or omissions or discussion on the previous? Carry on, Councillor Beal. Yes, this is the time.
If it's more than just a minute, I just have a question about the water, both the ERWS Management Board and also AWS Management Board. It appears that there would be a report attached, and I didn't see the report attached, which doesn't mean that now perhaps it was in the previous meeting and I missed that. I'm just wondering if I missed something.
Is that under the course,
That's
under the correspondence for section 4C and 4D? Is that correct?
Yes,
right.
That's correct. I just, like I say, I may be missing, I may have missed something, but I couldn't see the report.
Whether the report is actually on there, I read my background information online on the council report, so I did notice it. And plus, I was there. So, staff, sorry, the report is in the agenda, right? That's where I saw it on the council one.
Sorry to clarify, Mayor, I think what the councillor is asking is the financial plan is not part of the agenda. I see.
Financial plan went to the report. Yeah. Okay. Satisfied? Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah, that's great. No, it's get these things cleared up now so we all understand where we're going. No, that's great. We have a mover and a second for this. Any further questions or amendments? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. The council today, we have three very special presentations today from the fire department, the Parksville Volunteer Fire Department. Chief Mark Norris, if I can ask you to come forward and say a few words about what these awards are about. We're very looking forward to being part of today with your crew. So thank you so much, Chief Norris.
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor and Council for the opportunity to recognize the service of our members here this afternoon. Today, we have 3 members being recognized for long service in the Canadian Fire Service and within the Parksville Fire Rescue Department. All 3 members being recognized today are volunteer on-call members of our service. They give their time to help provide an excellent fire rescue service that we provide to the citizens and visitors to our fire protection area. And they're important, high contributing members of our team. At this time, I'd like to ask Mayor O'Brien to come up front and join me, and we'll make presentations.
Thank you.
Okay, first off, we're going to recognize Captain Eric Miller with 2 awards this afternoon. The first is the first 10-year bar of the Federal Fire Service Exemplary Service Medal, and that represents 30 years of service. Also, we're going to be recognizing Captain Miller with the 30-year Municipal Volunteer Medal from the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association. So on my notes here, it says I'm going to ask Captain Miller down now, but he's already here. Come on over here, Eric, in the middle. Eric has been with the Parksville Volunteer Fire Department as an active member since July 24th, 2000. However, he got his start in the Canadian Fire Service in Whitehorse, Yukon. It's just a little bit north of here. In October of 1991. He was there through June of 1994. He then moved because of his work. Eric was a police dispatcher with the RCMP for many, many years. He's retired now. Yeah. He moved due to work to a place called BX Swan Lake. And for those of you who don't know, it's just adjacent to Vernon in the Okanagan. He served there from October 1994 through June of 2000. He then relocated one more time, and he ended up here in Parksville. He dispatched out in Nanaimo and Courtney, I believe, for the RCMP, and now he's retired, but he's still serving with us. So Eric is our senior captain. His dedication to the Parksville Fire Rescue Department is second to none. He continues to provide the exemplary service that the federal medal exemplifies, and we're truly lucky to benefit from his membership. So first off, I would like to have the mayor present to Eric his certificate and bar for the 30-year exemplary service medal.
Great pleasure to congratulate you on your year's service, and to thank you so much for your service and from the city of Parksville. Congratulations.
So the second award for Eric this afternoon is the 30-year Municipal Volunteer Medal from the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association. This is awarded only to those whose entire service is voluntary, is through the volunteer service. So I just want to provide a definition. So the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs considers a volunteer firefighter as somebody who is available or on call to perform fire services, emergency services, and non-emergency duties for a jurisdiction as needed. They may receive nominal remuneration, i.e. not a livable wage, considering hours or pay for their time and generally have another occupation, which is currently retired. Right on. As I noted, Eric was a dispatcher, and although he's now retired, he has managed to maintain his passion for the fire service and his dedication to the rigors of providing volunteer service to us here in Parksville. So again, it's my pleasure to turn it over to the mayor to present Eric with his 30-year volunteer service medal.
Once again, congratulations. On your volunteer service. 30 years is pretty amazing. As recognized, we have the job recognized. Thank you, sir, for all you've done for our community. Thank you.
The next award that we're presenting this afternoon is to Lieutenant Joe Foster. This is the Federal Exemplary Fire Service Medal second bar, which represents 40 years of service in the Canadian Fire Service. At this time, I'll ask Joe to come on down, just like The Price is Right. So Joe has been with the Parksville Fire Department now as an active member since March 31st of 2020. However, he got his start in the Canadian Fire Service in a little place called Vancouver, BC, where he served from October 26, 1981 through to June 29th of 2019. So about 36 years and 8 months. So his almost 4 years of service in our booming metropolis here at Parksville has gotten him over the 40-year mark in the fire service. Joe was recently promoted to lieutenant's position here with the Parksville Fire Rescue Department, and we're pleased to be able to put Joe's wealth of experience to good use here in our community. So unfortunately, in Joe's case, the bar hasn't arrived yet. It's only been a year and a half. We're waiting for the federal government to send that, but they did send the certificate. So in recognition of that, we'll be presenting Joe with this certificate today. So I'll pass that to the mayor.
Well, once again, Joe, thank you so much for your 40 years. That's incredible. That is a milestone and truly appreciate the service of the Parksville community as well. Thank you so much for your service.
Okay, our third recognition today is to senior firefighter David Hildebrand. And in Dave's case, we're going to be presenting Dave with two 20-year service achievements. The first is the 20-year Federal Exemplary Service Award, medal pending, Dave. It's probably on one of those torpedoes somewhere that you work on, right? And the second is Dave's service was completely with the Parksville Fire Department. So from start to finish. So today we have a plaque, wooden plaque in recognition of 20 years of service to our fire rescue department for Dave. So Dave, at this time, I'd ask you to come on down. Dave is known around the firehouse as the Platinum Coyote. Oh, he's changed it, Platinum Jackal. Dave joined the fire department in June 2nd of 2002. Notably, Dave and his wife Renee were our first husband and wife duo. And I think Renee might have been responsible for giving us Dave. And it's worked out really well. Dave has a dedication which is unmatched, and his experience and knowledge are a true benefit to the department and the members who follow on. Dave's service has been solely with our department, and so we're going to present him with two 20-year recognitions. So I will start with the 20-year Federal Fire Service Exemplary Service Award. I'll let the mayor present that.
Thank you so much for your service, 20 years, and all with Parksville. Came to the right place in your state, and we're most appreciative for that. Thank you for that.
And this wooden plaque is from the Parksville, City of Parksville and the Parksville Fire Department in recognition, Dave, of your service with the department. And Dave's also a woodworker, so we thought he might like this. Thank you very much, everybody.
And thank you for all of you for attending and showing your recognition for all the year service here. Thank you so much for your attendance. They're going to the bar. Hope there's no calls then. Thank you so much, everyone, for staff for taking care of all those arrangements. Truly appreciated. Today, we have two delegations. We have the first delegation we have is from the Boys Girls Club, Central Vancouver Island, an annual report for child care spaces funding. Presentation by Karen Love and whoever else is with you. If you're Karen, I'm not sure if you brought anyone else, but anyways, Karen Love for sure. For the annual report to council for the 2022 to 2023 child care space funding at Parksville Child and Family Center at 132 Jensen Avenue East. Welcome, Karen, and you have 10 minutes for your presentation. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. My colleague Ali Legg is quite sick today, so it's been left in my hopefully capable hands. So I just want to thank you for allowing us to give you some feedback today and some information about the really important work that you're enabling us to do here in the City of Parksville. As you know, the childcare situation is not improved. Oh, sorry. Sure. Thank you. As you may be aware, the childcare situation is still dire throughout the province of BC, across the country, and even more so here on Vancouver Island. So we're very privileged to continue to be able to do what we do. So I did outline some information for you here. I believe you all have a copy of the narrative report. A couple of requirements that we had to operate the childcare spaces in conjunction with the agreement that you have with the province is detailed in paragraph 2. So right now we are offering 8 of the required 12 group childcare spaces, and that is under 36 months. That still remains to be the highest need for infant toddler spaces and the hardest to staff. As you'll see, the staffing ratio in this programme is actually 1 to 4. And for somewhere like Parksville, it's really, really hard to find suitably qualified staff. 18 of the required 25 group childcare spaces, so that is from 30 months to school age. The staffing ratio in this programme is slightly better at 1 to 8. Again, we do require specific qualifications for those staff under the Health Authority. And lastly, the numbers 38 out of the required 54 group childcare spaces, and they are school age. And the staffing ratio in this programme is 1 to 12. So currently we are open Monday to Friday each week. We only close for 12 statutory holidays per year and 2 professional days for staff. Quite a few childcare providers tend to close maybe a week in the summer, a couple of weeks at Christmas time, but we chose as an organisation to remain open 52 weeks of the year, less professional and stat days. And we also open for full-time during the summer. So some of the challenges that we're facing here in Parksville is recruiting. I know it's not unique just to us. I'm quite sure, the city is also struggling to recruit staff. It's not unique to Parksville for us. Trying to find qualified early childhood educators across the province is continuing to be really, really difficult. And you'll see from the work that the province of BC is doing, they're really trying to encourage people to want to go into that childcare field. They're providing a variety of training programs and some fees for people to actually want to enter the childcare, as well as to bring back childcare providers. A lot of childcare providers who are qualified are actually doing other work, because the living wage right now for childcare providers is not acceptable. So the province is now offering an additional $2 per hour top up as of January. So we're thankful that province is now offering $6 per hour to each early childhood educator to allow us to do our services. Another issue with staffing is transportation. A huge part of a successful programme is to be able to pick children up from school, take them back to school, but also during the summer, one thing we do is we offer children those opportunities that they might not get elsewhere. We certainly hear that from our children when they give us that feedback, but for that it requires to use our transportation, which was kindly supported by the City of Parksville. To drive those buses, we need Class 4 drivers. So if there happens to be any on council who are looking to volunteer and happen to have a Class 4 licence, we will gladly accept that. We have managed to actually hire just a specific driver in Parksville, and that's the first time that we've actually done that in many, many years. So we're really grateful that the opportunity just suited a stay-at-home mum in Parksville who just wants to support us and also earn a living wage. So summary of activities. Right now, we currently pick up and drop off at Ecole Oceanside and Springwood Elementary School. One thing to note that out of all the children that we serve, roughly 15% of those children have additional learning needs. That is quite common across many, many childcares. So Parksville, you're not different from any other region. The challenge with that is those children require those extra supports once they're in programme to make them successful. So for that, we work very closely with sources here in Parksville in making sure that we get those supported hours to try and support those children as best as we can. We also provide the families with family supports, whether it's connecting them to other amazing not-for-profits in the area. We liaise with the schools and with SD69. We always want to make sure that we can meet them where they're at, and that's the most important thing with any child, but particularly so when you have a child who's needing those extra supports, is to meet them where they're at. So part of us coming into Parksville was we wanted to, in addition to the childcare, we wanted to offer some youth programming, not to overstate what the Society of Organised Services were doing, but to complement the services. So the two programs that we found there was a need in Parksville, one was our Gen Q program. So that is a safe space for the LGBTQ community to actually come and meet with mentors and meet with peers. We've identified that that has definitely been a need within the city of Parksville, and our program is well attended. Then we also have a second program, which is called, and we didn't name it, Purple Girlzillas. So that was named by the youth from our Nanaimo branch, who chose to come up with what they wanted to call the program. Again, that one is really popular here in Parksville, and it's to provide rich and supportive friendships among female identifying youth. And again, it's a safe space. That's one thing that as an organisation we're very cognizant of, is any programme that we offer must be a safe space for all to be able to attend and feel welcomed. And that was part of the rebranding this year across the country, with changing from Boys and Girls Clubs to BGC, Central Vancouver Island, because not everyone identifies as a boy or a girl, and we want to make sure that everyone feels as inclusive as we can. So a good thing for Parksville is we have now applied to the Government of BC to make our Parksville Children Family Centre a $10 a day site. Right now, there are no $10 a day sites in Parksville. So I would certainly encourage council to advocate to the province of BC around the need for your community to actually have those sites. The sites don't benefit the provider, they benefit the families. And I did put some costs in here, so you'll see how much the families actually save by us becoming a $10 a day site. So we have a $10 a day site in Ladysmith. We have two in Nanaimo. We are one of two in Ladysmith, and we are the only ones offering $10 a day in Nanaimo. So now we're hoping that come January, we'll get good feedback from the government. Again, advocate to your government that you need $10 a day sites here in Parksville. And we will keep council up to date with that application. And the last thing is the community access. Again, part of us coming to the community was making sure that the Parksville Community Centre remained open to the public. And I believe we've been very, very successful with that. Right now, they are rented out almost every day from Monday to Friday between 9 and 2. And then after 5:30 p.m, we rent at the weekends, we rent on stat holidays, and we also rent it out to the community when we are not using the programme. Part of the licensing for VHA is that we cannot rent out the property during operational times, even if we were to take the kids elsewhere, but we certainly rent it out as much as possible. Right now, RDN is our biggest renter, and they support the pickleball group here in Parksville as well. We work with Woodwind School, and we work with the City of Parksville, the Parksville Volleyball Group. We were privileged to hold the SD69 graduation in our centre this year, and we also have several private events. I did provide a financial report, and I would like to point out that this is a confidential financial report, but it has been provided to council. We are more than happy to come and meet with council if you have any questions about the financial side of it. You will see that we are not making any profit. In fact, we are making a considerable loss to continue to run this centre. But as an organisation, our mandate is to provide childcare in Parksville, and that is what we will continue to do. So when we open childcare, you typically find that your first year can be quite a bit of a loss. But for us, the cost of running the Parksville Community Centre has been quite surprising. So that's maybe something I'm going to have to look at next year when we're doing our budgets, is to make sure that we can make it a bit more viable. And again, just in conclusion, on behalf of myself, the Executive Director, and our Board of Directors, but mostly the children and families that we support in Parksville, we would just like to extend our appreciation to Mayor and Council for, one, working with us on a continual basis to make sure that your community is supported, and two, for the incredible support and connection we have with your staff, with your CEO, but also with her team. They've been incredibly supportive in the past year that we have had the privilege of serving here in Parksville. And I'm happy to try and answer as many questions as I can, if you have any.
Thank you, Karen, for your presentation. Very well done. And I just had a question. You know, one of the last things you mentioned anyways about your application for the $10 a day daycare site here in Parksville. Have you already made your application to the province for that?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so you're looking for some efficacy on behalf of council, maybe to maybe assist that application going?
That would be very much appreciated,
Th-
Mayor.
Thank you for that information. And the other question I have is regarding the wait list right now. Do you have wait lists for children into your programs? Possibly based on your staffing issues that you have, like everyone, is sort of a wait list right now for some of your programs?
Yes, we do have a wait list, Mayor. We don't have a wait list for our youth programs because they're open and we have no limit on how many youth we can take. But
Right.
for our infant, toddler, our early years and our out of school care program, we have like wait lists. Right now, all the children that we have, we are maxing out on the ratios that we have for staff. But we have a wait list, and then the next time we're able to recruit staff, that wait list gets reduced.
Right. Okay, thank you for that.
And again, it identifies the need in Parksville. I know we're not the only childcare provider with a wait list.
That's where I was going. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Thank you. And just a personal comment of note anyways, I have to say that after attending council meetings and all the other meetings that we do, and we have some fairly brisk discussions and so forth, leaving the building here and driving through your area through the Boys and Girls Club when the children are out there playing and they're riding their little carts and their little cars and all the rest of it, and up on the berm, up on the top there, is joyful.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Thank you for that, because it really takes the edge off maybe our days that we have and so forth. And it's a joy to see the children there and getting just excellent care. And so thank you for your
That's so good to
service.
hear. And
Thank
we're
you.
always happy to take volunteers. If you want to come and read to the stories, Mayor, we'd be more than happy. I'm sure the kids would love to see you.
Well, as a matter of interest, I get invited to schools and so forth to do speaking engagements. If you have anything like that you feel that there would be benefit for the mayor to come and have a look. Santa Claus.
Absolutely.
No, just the mayor was the good. Yeah. Anyways, I would be more than happy to come and join one of your teams for a little presentation
That
sometime.
is wonderful.
And I'll wear my lovely chain at the same time. So
Even
the
better.
kids can
I will
play.
definitely take you up on that, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Karen. And council, there's questions. Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to touch on the $10 a day childcare. Was there a reason why we were late, like you folks were late in applying when other cities already have that in place?
Yeah, so to apply for $10 a day childcare, you must be in operation for a year. So that's our year now up. And as soon as that year was up, we got our application put in. Thank you.
And just, reiterate what the mayor said, that we'll be very happy to advocate and assist you in that application for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our delegation. Hello, Karen. And we got to meet through Zoom meetings more than once now. So
We
thank
have.
you for coming today. I have a couple of questions. First of all, do you know when you'll expect to hear back about the application for the $10 a day?
As far as we're aware, the notifications will come out in January 2024.
Okay, all right. So fingers crossed for
Fingers
that.
crossed.
I know that that will be a big help to families all over. And I do understand that that it is a rollout program over the province. And so not everyone gets it right away, and that they do have to be in operation for a full year. So congratulations on the first full year.
Thank you.
Just a comment, I do know that previously the council, and I think it was with the previous council, did in fact add the city of Parksville to that petition, or that for advocating for the $10 a day.
Oh, I wasn't
You're
aware of that.
familiar with the provincial, and I do forget what the what the site is exactly, but I know that the city of Parksville is on that list. So
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, council? I hear none. Once again, thank you, Karen, for your presentation. Very well done.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. We love
Thank
what
you.
we do. Thank you.
We love what you do as well. Councilor, our next delegation is from Tetra Tech Canada Incorporated, regarding the pavement condition assessment project. A presentation by Kay Raffay and A. Reagan of Tetra Tech Canada Incorporated to summarize the findings of the pavement condition assessment. Thank you so much for attending. I see singular here, so yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. And you are?
My name is Alan Reagan.
Thank you, Alan.
As you can see, there's two of us on the agenda. I'm not two people, just one. So I'm
We're good
based
with
out of our Vancouver office and actually work from home out of the home office in Coquitlam. And I took the Queen of Coquitlam over here this morning to talk to you all about the pavement condition assessment and pavement management plan. And,
Right.
if you wanted to view the slides, and I won't be offended if you turn around.
It's okay. There, in front of you is a monitor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. so,
Wonderful.
yeah, we're pretty high tech here.
Wonderful.
Almost as good as Tetra Tech, by almost.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll get into some of the technology that we used for the city's pavement condition assessment in a minute. So
Thanks, Alan. You have 10 minutes for your presentation, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
And somebody started a
We'll
clock on
start.
me already. So we'll get into an introduction on what we're doing here and the collection of pavement condition data. And then the city's pavement condition status in 2023 as we collected the data. And then the pavement management analysis and results and what the future condition might look like, depending on what the level of funding is. So here's the roadway network and the network of paved roads. And there's 96 centerline kilometers overall, just under 100-kilometer length. So it's a significant network, significant infrastructure asset for the city. You see, most of your roads are the local roads and the collector roads. And if we were to break these down, as we just call them major and minor roads, and about 61% is in the minor road category and 39% in major roads. So what we're doing, we're not starting from scratch. The city has a lot of existing data that we're working with as well. So one of those data sets was the roadway edge data. So the edge had been defined by the engineering or GIS staff. So from that, we've worked out the city has 904,000 square meters of roadway. And actually, if we break it down by area, then the major roads and minor roads are about equal in length. And the area is what goes into the treatment cost when things have to be repaved or reconstructed. So the area is a really important input for us. So we worked up that data, and we had surface age data from the engineering department, which helps us with deterioration model validation. When we get the condition and we see the age, we can validate that deterioration model. And there's other information we're starting with as well. So where's the bus routes? So there's more loading on the roads and more importance to those roads as well. And then the bike routes, or some of them are just defined as routes. Some of them have a separated bike lane, usually separated with a paint line. And the city has what we call AADT data, or average annual daily traffic data. So we've utilized that information. So some of the other information is the underground utility, the year of replacement, when the city might be going in and replacing, say, water mains or sanitary sewer mains that might need to be done. So this is really important in municipal environment, more so than a, say, provincial highway network. They don't have the same level of underground utilities, whereas in municipalities, there's the water and the sanitary sewer and drainage sewer that's generally underneath the roadway. So we have to, when we get in and replace those utilities, then there's a new service involved. So integrating this information is really important for the pavement management plan. So then when we get into the new information, we came and collected data with a vehicle just like this in late April of 2023, just a few months ago, and collected with the item identified as number 1 there at the back of the vehicle, pavement surface distress. That collects the cracking, rutting, weathering, raveling, the potholes, all the defects on the road. The second item at the front there, lasers on the front, collects the pavement roughness. And then number 3 up top, we have a forward-facing camera. So we have digital image log we use for quality assurance of the data, make sure we get good information for the city. And on the back, number 4, way up top at the back, is the LiDAR, light detection and ranging equipment for, we've used that for asset inventory, extracted paint lines for the city. So if you know where the paint lines are, if things need to be repainted, and we've identified all the traffic signs as well with that equipment. So as the survey is being done, so there's just lots of value being extracted from it. So what that looks like here, as you see in the left, one of those forward-facing images that I mentioned on one of the streets. I can't remember the name, but I thought it was a beautiful view, so I grabbed that one, and that was collected in late April, as I said, and then the schematic there in the middle of that laser crack measurement system, or LCMS, is scanning at the back and with the computer algorithms identifying all those cracks and other distresses that I mentioned. And you see on the right, what we get from that laser crack measurement system is scans of what the road looks like. And we're actually scanning depth as well, so we can identify those cracks. You'll see, like at the top of that image, there's a crack just to the right of that crosswalk, and in between those water valves, there's another crack. And if you had a good monitor, you could maybe see the cracks on the left image as well. So that's information we're collecting. So where did we collect data? Remember, this is the road network we were starting with, and where we collect the data is here. So this looks like blue lines, but really these are dots, and you're seeing 22,000 dots, each representing one of those images. So we've actually collected data everywhere, every road in the city. So slow it down a little bit here. This is a little bit of a busy slide, but I'll go through it with you. So in the pavement condition status, we're measuring that with the pavement condition index, or PCI. It's commonly used in North America and ranges from 100 for a perfect road with none of those defects or cracks that I mentioned, down to 0. You'd see cracks everywhere, potholes, and you wouldn't be able to drive down it at any kind of speed at all if your road was at a 0 condition. So what we see on the right is the condition distribution from all those roads. How many of them are in good, satisfactory, fair, poor, and very poor condition? And then we have the average condition of all those networks. So overall, the road network is in satisfactory condition, and just the industrial roads, which is a relatively short network, came down to the fair condition. And the longer networks, the local and the collector, those are both in satisfactory condition, just almost into the good condition there, just at 80 or just above 80 for those parts of the network. And then these poor and very poor categories identified here is about 14% of the network. So we call that backlog, or you might hear it called infrastructure debt. That's the roads where you could do something, you could spend money there in the type of condition where if in an ideal world, something would be done to repair those roads. So that's the backlog at 14%. And lots of cities try to target about 15%. So the city of Parksville is doing pretty good overall in the average condition and the backlog today anyway. So some examples here. I got here a little bit early, so I drove around and took a look at all these roads. I pulled out in examples as well. So Sorio Road is in satisfactory condition. Drove by that one. Franklin's Gull Road, I turned onto that and it didn't look bad at all. Then I got down the end, down the corner here where this picture is taken, and yeah, that's in very poor condition and lots of cracking all over the place down there. Island Highway East. So these roads in just getting into poor condition, where you could start doing that rehabilitation type treatment. We have a couple examples of those. So Island Highway East, kind of just east of where we are now. And then Bernard Avenue. So kind of got an arterial there and a local road example of something in poor condition where you could be doing rehabilitation if you had funding and if things coordinated with the utility plan and things like that. So then the next thing we got into with that baseline condition data is life cycle cost analysis. So once we know the condition, then we model the condition into the future, and then with the condition deteriorating in the future, we know there's things that can be done. There's rehabilitation can be done, say overlays or mill fills, or if things get into worse condition in the very poor category, you might be into a full depth mill. So you're replacing, say, all your asphalt concrete, or you could be into reconstruct, where you might be into the situation where you need to replace all your asphalt and some or all of your base course right from the bottom up. So the thing you should take away from this slide is that as the condition gets worse, the cost to fix that road goes up. So why not? So why not just wait? Let things get very poor. Well, it just costs more if you wait. So So the pavement performance modeling we do is based on the HDM models, which were originally developed by the World Bank, is to invest in rural roads in developing countries. They developed these models. They needed to predict roughness because that would drive vehicle operating costs and things like that. But all these distresses that we model, they also go into that pavement condition index. So we're able to predict that for the future.
That's okay.
A couple more minutes. Yeah, so just some examples here, how we're validating that model with the city's pavement age data that I mentioned, and how things deteriorate over time. So I think it's a good realistic model. And then the next thing we do is, okay, we have the measured condition deteriorated with those models. And we know things that can be done, what those things cost, and work with the engineering department on those treatment unit costs. So we looked at different budget levels of what could be done. So starting with the current budget, which we understand is about 500,000 per year. And then there's about 1.1 million per year. That's for road reconstruction that goes along with those utility replacements when those pipes are replaced and the road surface needs to be restored. So all the scenarios have that 1.1 million. So at the 500,000 level, you see the red line, what that backlog cost or what would happen to that infrastructure debt over time is the city's not able to maintain the current satisfactory average condition at that level, and that infrastructure debt would actually go up over time with that red line. But if you look at the blue or the green lines, you can see what the benefit should be for some higher investment levels up to the 1 or 1.1 million per year level. Now, in addition to the extra 1.1 million for road restoration along with those utility projects, is in this slide, you're actually seeing some of that return on investment. Say with the blue line, we're at an extra 500,000 per year. Over the 18 years that we're showing here is an extra $9 million. But you see, it's brought that infrastructure debt down from 22.6 million to 7 million. So it's brought that infrastructure debt down by over 15 million from what it would be for spending the extra 9 million. So there's some return on investment by not letting so many roads go to very poor condition. So here's that future condition distribution prediction from where the city was in 2023 as measured. And you see, it might look a little better than 14% in the poor and very poor categories because we've taken into account some works being done over the summer after our data collection. But here's where the condition distribution would go. And you see that poor and very poor total is growing over time as there's just not adequate funds to address the yellow, the fair category as they deteriorate. But at the 1.1 million per year level, again, in addition to the other 1.1 million per year, you see there generally is enough funding to address those fair roads as they deteriorate. So the poor and very poor category do not grow over time. So the summary is that current budget of about $500,000 per year is not sufficient to address those rehabilitation needs at the most economical time. So before the more extensive treatment needs to be done. And 1.1 million per year can't sustain the network backlog in the long term. So again, that's 2.2 million, including the other level of funding for integrating with those utilities. So hopefully that was clear. So in summary, kind of good roads cost less, or at least better roads overall. You could be spending less in the long term and you get better roads as well. If there's any questions, I'll do my best or pass them off to Joe.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan, for that great report with the asset management. This is very one cog of that asset management program that we have for our infrastructure. So very important. I'm so impressed that we've come up with the technology to do a proper study of it rather than having Mr. Doxia walk down the road with his wagon behind him. So this is far superior. I appreciate your effort. Council, I would have any questions for Alan. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Alan, for this presentation. I've had a constituent ask me about this. They saw it on the agenda, and I'm going to be able to share this with them. They can go online and see, because it's to do with the strata that where, they have to do the roads, and it really adds up. There's different kinds of finishes. Is there a finish you can put on that doesn't last very long, like there's some sort of a finish, I don't know what it's called, or was it called a traversed or something like that, different kinds of filling that you use for,
It sounds like you're asking about surface treatments.
Yeah,
So
mhm.
there's something called microsurfacing that might last 6 to 10 years, depending on the scenario. So that can be done as a preservation type treatment to try to extend the life a little bit.
I've always supported pay it forward because we all know, just like you said, it does affect. If you don't do it, it could cost twice as much down the road, whatever it is. The other thing that I appreciate is the utilities, because I've seen roads that are paved, they're beautifully paved, and then they're tearing them up, and it drives me nuts. So that is organized here with this. Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
It has been taken into account. I know
Utilities.
The engineering department, I think, is going to do more utility inspections to make sure there's a good utility plan.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. So my understanding is that this project was just looking at the pavement condition, right? Not the sidewalks or roads that are missing sidewalks, anything?
Exactly. Yeah, just the pavement condition. We do have the ability to do sidewalk condition assessments as well.
Okay.
Some of the imaging we've collected might be useful for that.
Okay. Yeah, because we do have like a couple of master plans that are slated to be done. So I think it was perfect timing, and staff did a pretty good job of organizing this. So again, thank you for all the information.
Thank you.
Councilor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through to our delegate, Alan. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm just wondering if in fact one is to follow let's call it a recommendation here that putting more into the budget will allow us to address that and bring down that backlog over a period of time. Would you also anticipate that, and setting aside any inflation, that in fact then once that backlog is addressed, that the cost should even out or in fact ever so slightly decrease? Again, not taking inflation into account.
I think the backlog is pretty good overall at this time, at the 14% or so. Most municipalities find they can't get much less than that, as you do want to coordinate with those utilities. And if you're going to have to dig up a road to replace the utility, you might as well get a few more years of life out of it. So reducing the backlog wasn't really one of the scenarios we looked at. We kind of looked at maintaining in the long term. So say additional funds were expended to reduce the backlog, I would think there would be some payoff in the long term. That would address those poor roads as well as the very poor roads. So keep some of those poor roads from becoming very poor, and then also having the funds available for those fair condition roads as they deteriorate into the poor category. There would be some payoff in the long term. Yeah.
Any further questions, Council? Councilor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to our delegation. Thank you for your presentation today. I guess maybe just some somewhat random questions, but maybe if you can speak a little bit to the primary drivers of deterioration of the pavement, whether it be, I guess, weather conditions or the type of vehicle traffic that's on there, as my first question. And then second question is, I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe there are some roads in Parksville that are much wider than they really need to be. Do you have any opinions on that, and whether anything can be done to kind of reduce the amount of pavement that needs to be managed in that regard?
Yeah, good questions. Thank you. So the primary drivers of deterioration, I think you nailed it with the weather conditions and the traffic. And we saw with the heat dome in particular in 2021, we got rutting on some roads where there had never been rutting before. So as the asphalt became soft and got some of those heavier vehicles, we saw some of that rutting develop. So weather conditions definitely one of them. Freeze thaw. So you probably see a lot of damage after those occur. And we go through some winters where we hardly see any freeze thaw, but some winters where there's lots of it. So definitely the environment's part of it, and the traffic is part of it as well. So if you see those heavier vehicles on, say, Albernia Highway and Island Highway, then those roads just aren't going to last as long as the other roads, say local residential roads and the industrial roads. You're probably seeing the industrial roads being in a little bit worse condition due to some of those heavier vehicles as well. Sorry, what was the other part?
Thank you. And maybe a quick follow-up on that question first, and then the second question. What are your thoughts with regard to trees and their ability to sort of mitigate some of the deterioration? Are they a net benefit in terms of the pavement? I understand the uprooting and all that they can cause as well, but can they actually help with things like the heat dome and freezing, those sorts of things?
I haven't given much thought to trees overall, but I think you're right that there's some, like walking into the forest, you feel a decrease in temperature. So I think shading of roadways would be a good thing overall. So there's some benefit to trees. Like you talk about really close to the roads, you can see damage due to roots, or some of the asphalt paths get damaged due to the roots on the trees. And I remember your other question was about the width. And I don't have any particular opinion on whether they're too wide in Parksville overall. Didn't really look at that. But if some of them are too wide, then when that rehabilitation type work is done, there could be some thought given to narrowing. So reducing not the unit cost, but reducing the unit area of the treatment.
Thank you for that. See no further questions. Thank you very much, Val, your
Thank you.
presentation. Great job. Thank you. Carry on, Council. We have our correspondence. There are 4 pieces of correspondence on the agenda today. First up, we have the Parksville Downtown Business Association 2024 Business Improvement Area Renewal. Do I have a mover and second for the recommendation as noted? Moved by Councillor Gore, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Next piece of correspondence is from the Regional District of Nanaimo regarding the District 69 Swimming Pool Local Service Area Amendment Bylaw number 899.03.2023. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation as noted? Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Gore. Any discussion? Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. And since I have you as the RDN rep, perhaps you can kind of give us a little background of the change and how it will benefit, or if it will change any of the city of Parksville taxpayers in contributions to the pool in Qualicum.
Not sure.
So-
What the change will be from?
Yeah.
Councillor Franz, yeah, I'm not sure I understand.
Thanks.
From
I just want-
previous to now.
Yeah, through the mayor to Council Gore, just to give you some background on this, since I was on the board in the last term, I think this is when the majority of the work was done. And it was really just kind of carried over for the end of this to be brought forward to this term. Since the pool service in Qualicum was brought about in the late 90s, then a new Area E was never part of that pool service. And they're going through some major renovations, including change rooms, looking at, adding an extra tank or so on. I think some of that's still to be determined because it wasn't finalized. But essentially, we looked at as a community group, the Oceanside services here, and to see the apportionment and if Area E could be brought in and to what degree. And there was a lot of debate on if it goes by assessment, if it goes by population, if it goes by usage and so on. And that kind of went until the end of last term, and it wasn't really settled. I didn't follow it into this term here, but seeing the what they've landed on now is based on 100% usage. I don't know if they're using the old study of nearly 20 years ago or so on, or if they're doing a new study to bring that usage up to, but essentially what that'll mean for our area is Area E will now be paying into that service. And so it will impact, it'll reduce, Parksville, Qualicum, the rest of us to some degree, depending on what usage percentage they'll be at. So hopefully
Thank
that
you,
gives you
thank
some
you,
background.
Councillor Frass, and part of that was bringing Area E to the table, which Area E have now agreed to. Part of the other conversation is the proposed expansion for Ravensong that was planned previous has now been put on hold until conclusion to the feasibility study done by the city of Parksville swimming pool possibility. And so that has been on hold. So there's nothing further happening on that until that feasibility study is put forward. So that was the beauty. So now it's being looked at by the RDM. Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. The next piece of correspondence is the Aerosmith Water Service Management Board 2024 to 2028 Aerosmith Water Service Financial Plan. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendations? Moved by Councillor Gren, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Next correspondence being the Englishman River Water Service Management Board, 2024 to 2028 Englishman River Water Service Financial Plan. Do I move or seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Grenz, second by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. And since I have you and Councillor Grants from the board, I had some questions about, I was looking at the financial plan and I see that there's some major upgrades that are proposed for the water treatment plant over the next 4 years, about, I think, 3.25 million a year. Do you know what those upgrades are for? Is it to expand the production, or is it our treatment plant has some failure and needs to be fixed? Like, what is those for?
Yes, and to answer your question, Councillor Gore, it was to provide for improvement on, well, let's say, design deficiencies in the original plan. So design deficiencies have been identified as to what would take to make the plan work more efficiently and to handle what we have. And that's what the major costs are. So they've been broken out anyways, and that's rough estimates as per a report done by a separate engineering company.
If I may follow up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. So since our plant is relatively new, is none of that covered under warranty, or since it's a big investment, like to replace and do the design fault that was part of the initial plan? So
There are some discussions that are going on, obviously, legally, what is happening with the previous consultants and designers and engineers on the project. However, that having not been concluded, we have to make sure that we have money in the budget to take care of those design deficiencies now, while we need them at this point, and we can't wait for any conclusion for any warranty options. Any further question? All those in favor? Go ahead.
thank you, Mayor. So I again, like I said, I went through the financial plan and I was interested in, there's a couple of studies that are being proposed. One is for the water resiliency and storage for about 125,000. And the other one is for evaluation of the water treatment plant, like consultation, about $300,000 study. So I'm hoping that cost savings can be achieved when Parksville does its own water study, when we have results of these two studies. Do you know what that study is about? The storage and water resiliency? Is it the treated water storage?
What it is the study was decided by the board at that time. The water resiliency study was to actually do exactly that. Look for ways to strengthen the water resiliency of the city of Parksville water supply. So water resiliency is to make sure that there is alternate forms of transmission of the water, alternate forms of storage of the water, like referring to our storage tanks that we already have in place, and whether they have to be looked at as to the resilience of it. It's to take care of things like climate change, earthquakes, and that idea. So that resilience study was going to look at those issues to see if there's any necessary improvements that could be made. Councillor Franz?
Thank you. So a question to a little bit of a sidebar of that, though, when you talk about that water storage and so on, do you guys look at all at the other lakes that are up in the Mount Aerosmith there too as being supplemental to the dam?
And Councilor Frost, to your question, yes, during the reports anyways from our engineer Heidi Cal, anyways mentioned that they're looking at not only just the Englishman River and the Aerosmith Dam, they're looking at other storage options that include all the lakes that are in that area. There's an awful lot of lakes in and about Aerosmith. You can see it on the map anyways, there's quite a few lakes. So she has written the comprehensive water study in such a way that the consultants will be looking at that and any other possibly side stream storage and all these other options. So she's really covered, she's covered the bases very well as to looking at what's already existing and other ways of so it's all possibilities of storage. And so, yeah, it was in her presentation anyways that she has that right on it. It's, you know, her recommendations for the consultant were huge and it's like, you know, number 45 out of probably 200 things to look at. So yes, to answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. The first report on the agenda is by the Director of Community Planning and Building regarding the development variance permit application at 560 Soriel Road to consider proceeding with notice for a development variance permit. Do we have any presentation? We don't have a presentation. You have it in your background information, Council. Got a mover and seconder for the recommendations as noted. Moved by Councillor Gore, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. The next report by the Director of Community Planning and Building, development permit application at 198 and 206 Jensen Avenue West to consider issuance of a development permit. I have a mover and seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Fraz, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? Councillor Gore.
And through you to Mayor, I guess to our staff, I noticed that there was one handicap spot that is dedicated in that parking lot. Could there be possibility of increasing it to more than one?
As I understand it, was the parking lot even delineated? Was there actually lineage for it? Because it's a permeable surface is all, unless it's based on curb stops. Yeah, curb stops, yes. Oh, okay, yes. And CAO Kaler, if you can just further
Sorry,
on
what
that.
was the question? Like,
Just
more than-
wondering if there's possibility, there's one accessible handicap spot identified on the plan. Councillor Gore was wondering if there's a chance for more than one.
well, I believe that that's based on the regulations at the moment, that require a percentage. So we don't normally exceed those, but it's really at council's discretion, I suppose, if you wanted to do it. It's only a temporary parking lot, so we're not going to be investing a significant amount to delineate those, but we could put a sign up, I suppose. We also don't usually enforce on city lots, like this one, or PCC, but we could, I suppose, if council directed us to. This is just temporary parking until the renovation starts.
Right, and as my understanding is part of the decision to put in the accessibility or handicap spots is based on proximity to the service or the business that is going to. In this particular case, it's a wide open parking lot that's going to be constructed for the benefit of our downtown businesses and so forth and services that are down here. So there really would be no spot that much closer than the other.
Right.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think I remember previously when this was presented, that it's about a year to 2 years that it will be used for the public.
If it may,
Okay.
yes, that's the intent. So as soon as the construction starts, it will have to cease because it'll be an active construction zone staging area for the reno.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to staff. The additional funds requested of $55,000. Is that, am I understanding correctly that that's for the purposes of constructing a bioswale?
If I may, through to council, I believe that it's not just for that, but that is a cost that to relocate it from where it is right now. That I believe they moved things around. It was a little bit less to do the demolition and remove the structures. And so there's no increase overall in the budget, I don't believe. 81. However, in talking with staff, there are some options to have less fancy treatments for the parking. So if council did wish, I think that's even presented in the report, there were some smaller amounts based on the final design. So really the main piece that we'll be investing more in is the fencing, which would be permanent and provide that security for our assets. And then the rest of it is pretty temporary. So the bioswale is also intended to stay in the new location adjacent to the fence.
Okay, thank you. So,
Sure.
so the bioswale is a permanent feature. Okay, because yeah, I'm concerned about allocating additional funds for a temporary measure. So that, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, and I'd like to comment as well, like the fence is like fences are necessary, but it will be necessary even after it's put in use by the fire department itself. So my only comment on the fence, it's a typical is being presented. All that I would suggest that that's not so typical anymore. Instead of using cedar panels, they're using steel panels now, metal panels now instead of cedar. It lasts a lot longer, and so it's better for security as well. So we can discuss that, further detail, I think, when we get closer. But I think it's a great move, and it's a great option that was suggested by our staff, anyways, to alleviate a lot of the parking woes in the downtown area. Whether it's for worker parking or just people shopping in that area. I think I've got a mover seconder already. So do I have any further discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Next report is regarding from the manager of infrastructure, the pavement condition assessment and management to provide the proposed pavement condition assessment and management plan for information and council direction by Mr. Doxey. Thank you, Mr. Doxey.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a report to accept the full document report that was just presented as a delegation from a member of Tetra Tech Consulting. Basically, the report is just simply asking council to accept the full document report for information, and the values and the budgets, those will be discussed at the time of budget deliberation. That is in the recommendations, I guess, just to kind of expand on things a little bit there. It does kind of go on to, I guess the key points are that investing 1.1 million on pavement renewals, such as like an overlay program versus this right now, the status quo of planned budget forecast of $500,000 would yield moving the pavement backlog of poor and very poor pavement from 22.6 million in 2042 down to I believe it was 5.6 million. So it's a considerable savings, and even if, I guess, if you include the additional $600,000 investment year over year, it still adds up in a savings if you include the total investment with the pavement backlog over that just near 20-year period. So otherwise, if you have questions, I'm happy to help you, but the recommendations are simply to accept the report for information, and hopefully between the presentation and the report, it should stand for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Doxey. And I'll comment anyways. Very impressed with the presentation from Tetra Tech and so forth, and using this technology. assessing the pavement condition is going to raise a lot of questions, and it's going to be a lot of budgeting and a lot of numbers crunching at this point. And I appreciate you bringing it to us in advance of you actually making your analysis of that report. I know you just got the report back and you haven't had a chance to really analyze the percentage of the highest needs and so forth that have to be done. And so we're not going to bother you with that right now, because I know that's a ongoing goal. I just wanted to comment as of this morning, there was some paving done on 19A in city of Parksville jurisdiction. I noticed along route by parallel to Resort Drive, and I think is one as was described anyways by the consultant as a result of a bad freeze thaw cycle, and maybe some aggressive snow plowing as well, perhaps, for a very problem area. So was that identified by the Tetra Tech, or was that an ongoing issue that you've been working on? Because I know that we as council have received a lot of comments regarding that particular stretch that seemed to, the pothole just never went away.
If I may, through to the mayor, yes, it was, it's kind of that particular problem was a bit of it came from two prongs of attack, I suppose. One of the extra items that was included within the report were some operational items. One of them is an existing database list of every crack in Parksville that won't be addressed through the capital program. So the capital program is the $1.1 million worth of rehab that's associated with utility replacement. That comes out of that $4 million budget envelope for capital. And then the other is that 1.1 million for the pavement overlay program. So aside from those, we've kind of, the consultant has kind of itemized that background list of every line, every crack and every pothole in town that's still in a backlog of needing repair, and those certainly showed up. And I guess the second prong of attack is our roadway supervisor bringing it to our attention and asking about recommended treatments and if they were flagged in the study or not. And sure enough, they showed up. And we've had the benefit a couple times now lately where we were looking at some of the data alongside with evaluating field conditions from operations crews. There was a portion of Sanderson that I think that also fell into a similar category earlier this year. So
right,
it was proving a benefit before we had the full report. So.
And thank you for that. I know there's a lot of people that are extremely happy to see it looks like a proper repair on that site today, with the good weather prevailing. Any further questions for Mr. Doxey? None. And Councillor Wood, I understand that you're online. Welcome. Thank you. Any further questions? Oh, Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to our your title, Joe, sorry. Just further to some of my questions and for the delegation, I'm hopeful that maybe staff can think about ways to creatively address some of the costs around paving in particular. I don't know whether I'm on the right track or not with the sort of the square footage of paving that we have and whether it's necessary to have that level of square footage. I don't know if you have anything you want to say on that now, but generally, if that's something that staff can consider, which I'm sure is already on the radar, but appreciate that.
If I may, through your mayor, to Councillor Grenz, yes, certainly the road diets, if you will, for lack of a better expression, is certainly a way of looking at future rehab. One of the things we have going on concurrently is the transportation master plan, and so that should help to help us better understand the needs of the system as well as the driving public's appetite towards narrower roads or certainly things like you'll hear about bulb outs and other traffic calming measures, but also as part of that evaluation is meetings with stakeholders. And so things like RCMP and fire departments and operation crews. So we have to weigh in the road diet with large and overdimensional vehicle uses of the roads that provide other services. So it's on the table. It'll be evaluated. I'm not sure where it'll end up landing, but yes.
Any further questions or discussion? Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation as noted? Moved by Councillor Gore, seconded by Councillor Grenz. All those in favor? Thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Doxey. The one policy for review today is the capital asset accountant. The updated tangible capital asset policy 6.16 to seek council's approval of the updated tangible capital asset policy. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Grens. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Bylaws for the third reading, the zoning and development amendment bylaw 2022, number 2000.137. The map amendment to residential high density RHD4 at 413 Wembley Road. Mover seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Grens. Seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. So the problem that I have with this proposal is, first of all, I mentioned previously, like the number of trees that are slated to be cut down. And again, it's one of those clear-cut 4-story condo buildings project. Yes, it's the BC Step Code 4. It's close to the mall. I do see those positives. However, its proximity to the area G, which is rural, like right next door, just fragmentation of the wildlife corridors. And again, not to mention the coastal Douglas fir is, if you look at the list of the trees that will be cut down, like those are the most endangered ecosystem in BC. And on one hand, we say we are serious about protecting those. We'll be taking steps as a region. If you look at the RDN, the RGS for the 2040 vision, it talks about so much, like, cohesiveness between municipalities, between the cities and the rural areas in protecting those corridors. And to me, this proposal is contrary to those policies. It's contrary to those visions and the framework that even the BC government just rolled out this month about protecting ecologically sensitive areas. It's very contrary. We cannot have both. We cannot be building on those sensitive areas and thinking about protecting. Somehow we will be able to. If this proposal had about 25% retention of the wooded areas of the coastal Douglas fir, I would have considered looking at it. In my opinion, this is not sustainable growth. We need to find housing, as the councillor mentioned, for our future generation, but we also need a sustainable future for our children where they still have the natural environment that they can enjoy more than just their homes. And the biggest issue here, we heard that the public in the area is very concerned about this proposal. So to give the voice of that opposition, I will be voting against this proposal. I also have issues with the lack of natural infiltration of the groundwater, since the proposal is about using 90% of the land. To me, it does not provide any green corridors, like I mentioned, for the wildlife. It is not beneficial for our groundwater recharge. So for all those reasons, Mr. Mayor and Council, I will be voting against it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just comment on that, the provincial government is quite the opposite when it comes to housing options. You have to be living in a vacuum if you don't realize that we have more housing needs, and the pressures being put on every municipality in the province to come up with more housing proposals with this. This falls within our urban containment boundary, and they've met all the conditions as required. So reality is, the government has threatened to take away the ability of councils and so forth to make these kind of decisions. And I believe it's prudent for us to make the decisions for all the reasons, all the benefits, not just to satisfy a few. So I think in that particular case, I'm supporting this 100% because I feel it's the right thing to do at the right time. So I will definitely be supporting this motion. Thank you. Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just like to share a few thoughts. I have actually wrestled quite a bit with this particular proposal following the public hearing. However, you know, particularly noticed the concerns about traffic. Following that, I did look further into the OCP and also what the classification of roads in this area is. And I noted that Church Road is we have collector roads in this area. These are not local roads, so they would be expected to have some additional traffic, let's say a higher degree of traffic on them than local roads. And also the traffic study, I realized that it was done at a time when people felt that it wasn't totally fair due to COVID. But nonetheless, looking at that and looking at the traffic report, I feel that that particular concern can be mitigated over time if there does prove to be a problem. There are future road possibilities. I checked, and Stanhope, for instance. Anyway, I won't go into all the details, but there are other areas where we actually have dedicated road allowance that can be developed in the future. I do believe that things could be done with this intersection if it does prove to be a problem over time, and that given that there are some issues expressed by the community at this time, those concerns actually do not have to do with this particular project, but come from the community as a large. I do share a concern that we will lose a number of trees there, but I also do appreciate that the proposal allows for trees to provide a buffer, somewhat of a buffer between the development and the neighboring houses. Also, that increased density, when we increase density in an area, this does in fact allow for less sprawl. And sprawl is particularly hard on water usage, on increasing transportation stresses, and also increasing loss of forests. So it's one of those things where having an increased density here, I think, actually can protect some of our trees in the areas that are farther out. If this project was not to go ahead and there was a different project proposed in this area, be it small lots, be it some other kind of housing, a significant number of trees would come down in that case as well. The transportation master plan coming up, I do hope that we have great response and good input, which will I sincerely hope will address some of the concerns that were voiced at the hearing about pedestrian and cycling safety. And that's important regardless of whether this goes ahead or not. I've looked at the OCP plan carefully, and it seems that this is a reasonable spot for increased densification right across from the mall. I noticed that there's actually a pedestrian walkway from Wembley Road at the north end of the mall that goes in, a picnic table and a little area there. So presumably that could be taken advantage of by this project if it goes ahead. I will say though that I was quite disappointed to see that the proponents are only offering $400 per unit. I believe it was $400 per unit. And that I find disappointing. So I guess I'll have to hold my nose a little bit on this, but I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Grens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I wonder if perhaps our Director of Planning is on the line, if you can answer some questions, or perhaps staff or you. Yeah, just for clarification. Okay, great, thank you. I wonder if you could perhaps remind us what the OCP sort of vision is for this area and this where this is proposed. And I understand there's also a tree health study with an arborist that was performed. So maybe you can just remind me of that, those two items.
Okay. If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Grens. So the property has been identified for high density residential use in the official community plan for the fact that it's close to an intense commercial area where there would be synergies with the commercial area as well as public transit. There's a public transit hub at the mall. And so that's, with respect to the OCP, it is being slated for high density residential. The property owner has conducted an arborist report as part of their zoning application package to look at the health conditions of the trees. I believe a number of the trees are in various states of condition, and it's second or third growth trees on the property.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate that. So through to council, the mayor to council, I will be supporting this proposal. I recognize some of the concerns that were raised by the public and have had the opportunity to meet personally with a number of members of the public in the neighborhood, as well as correspond over email. Some of the concerns that came up were around traffic, as Councillor Beal pointed out, which I understand that there have been more than one traffic study completed on this, including one that was done post-COVID. So it does actually hopefully capture the post-COVID nature of the traffic concerns. But regardless, Councillor Beal raises excellent points about the possibility of mitigating any concerns around traffic there. So that piece hopefully will not be a concern down the road. And I'm confident that we'll be able to work around any issues there. I fully recognize the sort of convoluted nature of the jurisdictional issues with being right next to Area G there, and we're here in the city of Parksville working under a very different framework, especially as regards traffic. We don't have to go to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to get changes done there. So we're able to be a little bit more responsive than perhaps the provincial side of things and just across the street in Area G. With regard to trees, I'm very much concerned about trees and ensuring that we have a healthy tree canopy in the city of Parksville. There are many reasons for that. One I raised earlier with regard to providing shelter for roads, but also for people and animals. It's very important. The question is whose responsibility it is to provide that service to the community. And in my opinion, it's a little too far to expect that individual landowners provide that as a service to the community. So in this case, for us to expect the landowner to provide this service to the community of having these trees, and us denying their application based on us requiring them to provide the service to the community is not really a fair way to go. There are certainly limits we can place on the use of land, but there are other services that currently vacant lots provide to the community just as a byproduct of them being not used for their actual purpose right now. Trees being one of them, but we have properties where people use them for a park or that, or trail or that sort of thing when they're actually private property. If it was your property, you should have the right to use it. And that's kind of, I think, what we have to keep in mind here, even though there is a service being provided for a while. The concern around the payment to the fire department, I fully recognize that as well. And the proponent has decided, as in their proposal, to allocate some of the funds they would have donated to the fire department towards amenities on the property. Which I think speaks to some of the concerns that were raised by this council around ensuring that there is a sense of community on this property, and the downstream benefits in cost savings to government from having a strong community, I think they're not easy to quantify, but they're very high. So I appreciate any effort that any developer goes to ensure that the community that they're creating ultimately with their housing is one that can be self-resilient in a sense, if that makes sense. And then the final item I want to raise is around whether this is going to be a rental or a for sale property, which we don't know yet. And this has been something that I think members of the community are concerned about. In end of the day, though, it's my hope that the property itself, whether it is for sale or for rent, would be able to meet kind of the middle of the range of homeowner if it's for sale, which I believe it will. So say, you know, a younger family or someone earlier in their housing stage, or someone who is downsizing and moving into this sort of place. So I think that that is an area of the housing ladder that we need to make sure we include in our community. And I think this does help address that particular stage of the housing ladder. So for that, all those reasons, I am in support.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I first saw this project, it was like a no-brainer to me because we do need housing and it's right near a mall. You know, they can walk across the street and do their shopping. They don't have to get in the car and this sort of thing. And then we hear the, you know, concerns about the traffic, and there's a lot of through traffic going on there because I've been there myself many times, and I've been going regularly recently to watch. One particular day I saw in the rain, it was pouring rain out, 20 cars stopped at Church Road. So, you know, the stop sign there. So I was surprised, and I can see where the people are concerned, but I also agree with all the comments here about our fellow councillors. The thought that's been put into this for housing, also concern about trees and about private ownership and the rights of people and those kinds of principles. And with that in mind, I'll be watching the transportation study that's coming out and what happens, because I will be. And if we need to have a new street light put in there or something because of the traffic for the people, so people don't feel like they're being threatened, we'll have to do that. And that might not be in my time, I don't know, but I still do it if I'm not around here at the table, because I do feel that. I feel that totally. Where I am, I can walk and not worry about who's around me. And I feel that there's a concern there for those people. They all came here and we saw them. But with that, I still will support this for our community growth and sustainable environmental reasons. And so I support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Gore for a second time.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did hear, you know, points from Councillor Beal and Councillor Grants talk about why they support this proposal. The issues about traffic that are being faced by the public and the neighborhood are now. I don't foresee a plan in the near future or anywhere in the works that will be addressing it. So traffic continues to be an issue, and it's a big issue for the neighborhood. There's a strong opposition to this, including people living in the Area G and on the other side, on the Parksville side as well. I just want to mention one sustainability principle that talks about the interconnectedness and the interdependence of natural and human systems should be recognized and respected. So this to me definitely fails that sustainability principle. Also, I mentioned the BC Biodiversity and Ecosystem Health Framework that just came out, and it specifically talks about how the ecosystems are being affected by development. And they mentioned something called ecosystem-based land use management. And to me, this is contrary to that as well. And Councillor mentioned really good points about private ownership of land and whose responsibility is it to provide nature, the trees, and absolutely, you're right. However, when we're facing housing crisis, if you look at the need for housing, then it checks the boxes. We are facing multiple crises. We're also facing the climate change and the biodiversity loss. Whose responsibility is it? I think it's a collective responsibility. Nobody wants to stop the owners from using their land. When we talk about high density zoning in the OCP, and perhaps I'll reach out to staff on this, what different zonings fall under that category of high density? Because this application is for RHD4. My guess is even RS3 would fall under high density, and the housing that is built across the highway on the other side is also high density designation in the OCP, correct?
If I may, Mayor, through to Councillor Gore, the OCP would allow for either RHD4 or RS3 equivalent zones in the high density designation. You mentioned across the street, so at this time, the mall doesn't specifically have it has high density provisions available in it, but it's contingent upon a certain level of activity in the downtown, which is why it's got an OCP amendment as part of its application.
Right. So like I said, if the application was for, let's say, even an RS3 and a component of was to protect about 25% of the trees, I would have considered it, Mayor. But as presented, as the application is, I will be voting against. Thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That passes with Councillor Gore. All those opposed? Councillor Gore opposes. Thank you. That carries. Yeah. Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah. We're very close now. So there's one notice of motion on the agenda. Myself, I've putting the following to the variance to special event policy for Rock the Park event. This motion has been placed on the agenda in lieu of notice, so council may vote on it at the November 20th meeting. Since it wasn't prior to this, I'll read the the recommendation. That council approve the variance of special events policy number 3.30 terms and conditions for beer gardens for a 5-year period, 2024 to 2028 inclusively, to permit the Parksville Beach Festival Society to host a 3-day long licensed outdoor event, including 8-hour daily liquor service duration, provided approval is provided by the Provincial Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch as part of the annual Rock the Park Music Festival. His background on this, as you know, the Parksville Beach Fest Society comes to us on an annual basis. This recommendation is to give them a approval for a permit for special event policy for a 5-year period instead of reapplying for every year. And because it ends up being a last minute affair, and it puts undue stress on staff to get it all done in time. So that's the reason that this is on the agenda today. So I am moving it. I'll move it if I get a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Any other notices of motion? Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a brief chat with our CAO before the meeting, and I want to give notice that and this will be worded properly after speaking with the staff. But this is in relation to the Bill 44 that's being proposed by the provincial government. So I would like the staff, the council direct staff, to present a report on different options, how council and the public continue to have a say in how and where we develop. It might include the urban containment boundaries, but we'll have to see how much staff is able to take on and what can be done. And this is important considering the unique character of our city and the natural environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Staff, did you get the intent of that notion? Okay, thank you. Liaison reports. I'd like to move on liaison reports. Council members, Councillor Wood, you're up first, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me in there?
We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Thank you. Just a quick report. I just wanted to mention to anyone watching or reading the agendas that there's an excellent RDN financial plan staff presentation. The link is to the PDF is online. The link is in the agenda. And so when it comes time to see what people are paying for taxes in the RDN, this presentation will, I think it really alleviates, what the board is trying to do at the board table down at the RDN. So link is in the agenda. I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, the website is already up for the RDN, and the financial report is on it, and it's very extensive and informative. So thank you for that reminder. Councillor Beal.
Thank you. Yes, all right, to all my liaison organizations, I shared highlights from council on a number of current events of items of interest, including information about the Transportation Master Plan online survey, information about the 2024-28 financial plan, including meeting dates and public engagement opportunities. I shared our request for exemption of certain areas from the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act. Also, the Parksville Fire Department Build the Boots campaign, and a reminder of the public hearing for 188 McCarter Street, and information about the Cookies and Carols events. I should qualify, actually, that wasn't really shared with the early childhood group because it wasn't really pertinent. So the Arts Council recently held their AGM followed by a regular board meeting, and the Community Art Garden Project is working on plans for a large greenhouse on site, and they're in contact with our planning department about this. The Early Learning and Childcare, if I can just move on to the different ones. Okay,
Sure.
the Early
Okay.
Learning and Childcare Council of Oceanside meeting included updates on the ongoing staffing shortages, which is true not only for our nearby PGC, but others in the area. Recruitment of fully trained early childhood educators and wages are both issues, along with concern about the potential for staffing problems due to perceived competition. The province will be providing a $2 per hour top up for wages at the end of December. And locally, the BGC is now eligible to apply for the $10 a day program. There are particular issues faced by rural areas, and a question to keep in mind is if our OCP review, when it comes up, will include a childcare plan, and if not, this is encouraged. As for the Parksville and District Chamber of Commerce, they also heard from the superintendent of Qualicum School District as well as the PDBA. The school district has completed their strategic plan. My apologies, I meant to bring along some copies. I'll put them in everyone's mailboxes soon. Liaisons to the chamber leave the meeting following their report, so I don't have anything additional to add at this time. However, there were a few questions following my report to the group. As also, finally, if I can add in the Ballina Secondary School youth groups. As one of the liaisons, along with Councillor Gore, to the youth groups, I was able to meet and introduce myself to the administrative team at École Ballina Secondary School, and they were very receptive. I followed up with forwarding my general liaison report to them so that it can be forwarded to the most appropriate teachers in hope that they and students might be interested in wanting to take part in some of the city's current events. They were very pleased to have that route, and I needed to do that just as an aside because teachers' assignments do change throughout the year and from year to year, and so it's not always possible to know exactly which teacher is directly connected with the youth groups. So they will look after that, and they also appreciate knowing what's going on. And in the meeting, I particularly stressed a transportation master plan survey, along with references to the other events, and ending, a nod to our own Deb Tardif, but she's not in the room right now, ending on an upbeat with Cookies and Carols.
Thank you, Councillor Beal. Councillor Martin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you for adding the museum, Parksville Museum on this agenda. They're a hardworking group. You would be so impressed to be at their meetings. It's very exciting. This winter, the manager, Michelle, who was there in the summer, has stayed on for 10 hours a month, just to help with rentals, because there is rentals. There's weddings happening. There's a concert happening in the church on the 17th of December. There's a room there you can rent at the back. That's a wonderful thing for a reception. There's so much that's potential there that's happening. And I think just the growth and the volunteerism that's happening with our manager, one person on the board that got 24 people to look after the gardens this year. I mean, each person took 1 day a month and that saved, I heard at the board, it looks like $15,000. It's unbelievable that, you know, this is our little paradise right there. So, and they still need $75,000 a year to keep the doors open. So fundraising is a continual project. They have plaques there where you go at the entrance. You can see it right now where people have donated, consistently donated and to keep the doors open. So I just wanted to pass that on. I do know there's some new board members coming up after their AGM. So I want to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any other reports that weren't listed? No, thank you all. For special business, I'd like to ask for a mover and seconder for the recommendation pursuant to section 91 C, E, and K of the Community Charter. Council proceed to a closed meeting to consider items relating to labor, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, and the discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service. Of a mover, Councillor Wood, moved by, I saw. Second by Councillor Grenz. All those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you. We're now moving closed. Let's reconvene at 2:61.